to the main card here. First fight, Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Christian Rodriguez. Why don't you take it away, Keith?
I'm going with Raul here. The skill set is there, all around, but especially great on the ground, great jujitsu, great wrestling. Um, I don't really think there's much to say about this one. This isn't like a crazy setup fight like we've seen in the past for some of these super hyped guys. Where you see like a Muhammad Mokaev fighting. I can't even remember who his last fight was against, but it really like wasn't competitive at all. I think that this is going to be a more competitive match. Than some of those setups. It is on the main card. It's going to be exciting. Uh, but at minus 245, Raul Rosas Jr. is a great pick. I think he's going to go out there and do his thing. This guy is, an up and coming success story in the UFC. So, I'll roll with him, until he proves otherwise.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. It's funny you bring up Muhammad Mokaev because, yeah, he was being given kind of like the white glove treatment. And then in his last fight, we saw him almost have to tap out. Maybe should have tapped out. A lot of people would have tapped out to that position that his knee was in. Thank God. I think he said he didn't tear anything. It was only a sprain. He's going to be back to training in 6 weeks. So, good for him. He didn't have to suffer major consequences for that. But, similar to Muhammad Mokaev in his last fight, I think Raul Rosas is going to definitely be given a test here against Christian Rodriguez, C-Rod. I went back and watched a couple of his fights, and he's a guy who, he has good jiu-jitsu, and he does, sometimes end up well in scrambles, and he's not inept, and he definitely has a strong guillotine. In his last 3 fights, in his UFC fights, he's been taken down 10 times, which, that's definitely concerning when you're going against a guy like Raul Rosas, who is going to go in there and he's going to try and take you down. Now, he's only 18 years old, so it's really hard to say exactly how well he's going to be improving in terms of the stand-up and the striking, but he hasn't had any issue thus far with getting the fights to the ground. So I'm actually not expecting him to have too much of a difficulty getting the fight to the ground against a guy who's been taken down 10 times inside of the UFC. What I am concerned about is Raul Rosas being a little bit too aggressive, being a little bit too overzealous, and being a little bit too dynamic with his jiu-jitsu and finding himself in a bad position, and Christian Rodriguez coming out of nowhere and being able to get that submission. He is a guy who's fighting at a Roufusport, and, those guys at a Roufusport, I can pull it up real quickly, but those are guys, Anthony Showtime Pettis, Sergio Phenom Pettis, those are guys who, a lot of Ben Funky Askren was there for a period of time, but those are the guys who, they could be losing a fight for, the majority of it and then turn around and just get a win. Like you think about the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight where, Anthony Showtime Pettis was actually not doing the best. He wasn't, he was losing that fight to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, then came out of nowhere with the knockout and stunned him and won that fight. That's the thing that the Pettis are known for, is coming out of nowhere and getting that win. So, I wouldn't be that shocked should Christian Rodriguez come out of nowhere and be able to find a submission on an 18-year-old kid who's, kind of over the moon with where he's at. And I know he's got all these high career aspirations, and, I'm not knocking any of that. You're 18 years old. Of course you're going to have that. But, I could see the future where the 18-year-old is overzealous and he's excited about his position and a little bit overconfident and goes for something a little bit outside there in the names of that. He just thinks that he can, and he hasn't been humbled to this point. And then Christian Rodriguez, a guy from a story gym with guys who have established greatness, maybe not doing the greatest work now, although I think Anthony Pettis just won his boxing match with Roy Jones Jr., so props to him. But all that being said, I'm going to go with Raul Rosas. I think they still want to give him that bit of a white glove treatment, and I think he is well-versed enough on the ground to get this one done. But I'm just saying, be cautious of the world where C-Rod comes out of nowhere and gets a submission on Raul Rosas.
Yeah, quite possible, man. Raul Rosas might be buying into his own hype.
And Christian Rodriguez is good on the feet. He is a very solid stand-up guy, and I feel like I glanced over that, or I didn't say it at all. He is very solid on the feet now, and he's 25 years old too, so he's still learning in his career. There's a possibility where Raul Rosas tries to go in there for the takedown. He gets a little overzealous, a little overconfident, or a little bit sloppy, and he gets stunned into a place that he wasn't before. I know he got hurt by I think it was Jay Perrin, right? Yeah, he got hurt by Jay Perrin a couple of times, and he was able to fight through it and look at that big old noggin, of course. But I'm just saying, I am concerned. He's 18. We don't know, how he's going to perform. He's 18 years old. This is unprecedented. So, hard on the wallet wise, but yeah, I do have to go with Rosas until he proves otherwise. I know it was long-winded, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I like him to win by submission.